Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Whatnauts review show, where each week we have a different story to talk about. Could be a comic book, a movie, TV show, manga, who knows. We rate it, watch it, do what we have to do, come back here and talk about it. This week, we are continuing our coverage of a TV show that we have been watching the past couple months. We are watching Season 3 of Mr. Robot. So I am excited to dive into that. My name is Kyle Springer, and I am joined, as always, by Melissa Wilkinson.
Hello.
And back for a second time on the Whatnauts review show, making her third appearance on the Whatnauts. We have Jacq back with us.
How fitting. Thank you for having me back on. I had a dream that I overslept and missed this, so I'm very happy to actually be here.
We wouldn't start it without you.
Thank you. That means a lot.
Indeed. If it makes you feel better, I'm running on like 4 hours of sleep because I couldn't sleep last night. So I was almost in the same boat of like, do I want to keep sleeping or do I want to podcast? Like, I should be there.
Yeah, I'm running on about the same amount of sleep too.
Yeah. Oof. Yeah. So here we are. We're going to be talking about Season 3 of Mr. Robot. But Melissa, how has your week been?
Yes. It's been productive. Yesterday, I got up super early and I was at the Dollar Tree before it even opened. Because I wanted plastic storage containers to organize my apartment, and then they didn't have everything I was looking for. So then I was at a TJ Maxx before it opened. And then I went in and got more. And my bathroom counter, my fridge, my pantry, clean. Nice. I got it done yesterday.
Good
stuff. I had to order a new soap dispenser yesterday because we broke ours in our bathroom, and I happened to have some more stuff in my cart, some more of like soundproof panels and stuff like that, and I forgot that they were in there, and I just hit buy, and so I bought them all. And all of that stuff, so I ended up spending like $80 when I only meant to spend like 10. I was like, well, I wanted them, so I now have the stuff.
Fate has decided.
Yeah, exactly. Jacq, what about you? How have you been since you've been on the podcast?
I've been here, I guess, just existing in this weird world that we live in.
Yeah.
But, just trying to watch TV and movies when I'm not working.
Mm-hmm. Have you had like a big backlog of stuff that you've been catching up on? Be like, now I have the time to like finally watch all of this.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'll go on random spurts that will be inspired by different things. Like I've been going through back catalogs of podcasts, and the Blank Check podcast.
Yes.
I've been going through their back catalogs, and one of the directors that they covered was M. Night Shyamalan.
Gotcha.
And I realized that a lot of his movies I've never seen all the way through, so I've just been working my way through all of those, and that's been fun, to say the least.
Quite an experience.
For sure. Yeah, I don't remember what the last M. Night Shyamalan film I saw was. The last one I saw in theaters, I think, was The Village. You remember that one? Yeah, that was strange, to say the least.
I think I saw Lady in the Water. I think that was the most recent one. I think that came after The Village, so I haven't seen anything after that.
Interesting.
I did like his work. I would like to check out the second half of his career.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, Season 3, Mr. Robot, back again for some more robotic TV shows. So yeah, I guess we'll do what we normally do here and do general thoughts and then synopsis and housekeeping, and then we'll get into spoilers and stuff. So, Jacq, I know you have seen the entire show from start to finish. This is at least your second time watching it. What about season 3 stands out to you, just in general?
I think what stands out to me about season 3, well, one, when I first started watching the show all the way through, it only had it only had 3 seasons up to that point. So season 3 was the most current season. It's the one that I've lived in the longest, waiting for season 4 to air. And just from a filmmaking and storytelling standpoint, it took a very different turn than I would have ever expected. And I really admire just all of the bold risks that they took. I think it just really elevated my opinion of the series overall. Like, after I was finished with season 3, I just wanted to give Sam Esmail and everyone involved a standing ovation.
Yes.
Because I just think it's fantastic, and it really just elevated the series to masterpiece level for me personally.
Okay.
I think everything is firing on all cylinders in this season, particularly.
Okay, good stuff. Melissa, what did you think? Season 3, you watched it for the first time.
Yeah. This is really impressive and really guttural. I think some of the emotions in this season hit harder than they have before. It is sharper and more gruesome in a lot of interesting ways.
Yeah, I think for me, like, they're in season 1, there's one scene in particular that I think stands out where you see Elliot crying in a corner, and he's like, what do people do when they get this sad, right? And you see that at the start, and you're just like, man, he's a sad dude. And then through the course of these 3 seasons, like, you get to know him, you get to like him, or maybe not, but like you're so ingrained in his story that when it goes back and it kind of does that scene once more, you see it and you're just like, oh man, dude, like, he's sad again. This is not good. I don't like this.
Right. You become personally attached to it. Like, you already recognized him as sad dude, but you're committed in your heart to, I don't want sad dude to be sad anymore. No additional sadness. He's plenty.
Down with sad dude. We want him to be happy dude.
Mildly okay dude.
Yeah, like, I liked this season more than I liked season 2. I still liked season 2 a lot. But I think from our discussion last month, season 2 kind of took a dip. It was like, okay, this is still really good. Maybe not what we were expecting, but still really good. This was, I think, also not what I was expecting, but like in a strange way, like almost back to basics, like back to season 1 stuff. It mirrored some things with that, and I think it takes a turn that I really like the direction of. It's just like, ooh, I like that it's darker, it's more sinister, and it just feels like I think you start to get a better understanding of the bigger picture with this one, rather than it's just like one guy trying to take down a knockoff of Enron and Amazon and Dell all mixed into one, right?
Yeah, I think that's what I really appreciated about this season the most, is that it's such a nice mirror image to season 1. And even, which of course we can get more into this with spoilers, but like the last episode of season 3 has so many parallels to the first episode, even just the locations that they visit. And I love how it bookends this arc of the series.
Indeed. Do we want to get into a brief synopsis of what season 3 is kind of about? It's a tough one.
It's like, where do we start with this? Elliot, Angela has gotten him a job at E-Corp, so now he's trying to do the same sort of thing she was doing in season 2, working on destroying E-Corp from the inside out. So he has a job there, and he's still, I don't remember if this was introduced in season 2 or not. I love the paper backup records that E-Corp had. They were all going to be shipped to this New York. Right. No. This is the season 2 finale. They were all going to be shipped to like the New York center, and then they were going to blow up the New York center. And instead, Elliot has been working on diverting all of the paper to like 71 other different E-Corp centers across America, believing that if they're all spread out, it's going to take forever for the Dark Army to destroy them, or they'll never try at all now that the project isn't just blow up one building in New York City. It's much more complicated than that.
Yeah, that's kind of where we left off season 2, because they were getting ready to do phase 2 of their plan of that, and I think that was the like slow down with season 2. It's like they kept talking about this plan or like what we should do next, and they never really did stuff with it. And then kind of right at the start of season 3 here, they are finalizing the plan and they make it happen, where they're redistributing all of these papers so that they can kind of, because the idea is that they're about to blow up this one building. They're scared that there's going to be people inside and people will actually get hurt, and they don't want that. So they're like, hey, if we kind of get rid of that plan that I also initially came up with, then maybe we can fix things and do it differently. It's this like back and forth chess game stuff, and I think that really shines here in season 3. It's like, okay, if I do this move to stop you guys this way, what are you gonna do next, right?
We also find out a lot more about the Dark Army's workings. We meet more people involved, find out what their like day-to-day operations are, kind of, and we get a glimpse of what White Rose's ultimate plan is. Just a glimpse, though. We have no real details how she plans on pulling this off, but we get a sense of what her vision is. And this is something she told Angela in that creepy Commodore 64 room at the end of season
Black
2.
room.
And that idea is like firing. Like that's what gives Angela all of her passion and all of her drive this season. And you watch her deal with this idea when you have no idea what the idea is.
Yeah, so it's an interesting season. Like I mentioned, I do think it kind of takes a darker, more sinister turn, which is one I was not expecting. I was kind of expecting it to go back to season 1, like dark hacker root stuff, but not the like dark, sinister character stuff of just like, what is this person really thinking, or what are they actually dealing with? And it's some intense stuff. So, Jacq, do you think that about covers it for like a synopsis of season 3?
Yeah, I would say so, especially a spoiler-free version.
It's
which it's so wild. Like, I would think that the midway point of the season would have been the season finale. Nope.
Yeah. The mid-season stuff of this season is mind-blowing. It's so good. So I'm excited to talk about all of that stuff. But yeah, let's do housekeeping, and then we can get into spoilers and start breaking it all down. So if you guys did not know, we have multiple podcasts here at the Whatnauts. You guys can find out more information on our website, thewhatnauts.com. We just had our first annual trivia night on the Whatnauts Captain's Log, which was a lot of fun, and I got beat very badly, and I should probably be ashamed to call myself a 90s kid. So we'll leave it at that. You guys should go check it out.
Okay.
You can get that on our website or your favorite podcasting platform of choice. Just type in the Whatnauts and all of our shows will pop up right there. If you like what we do, patreon.com/the Whatnauts is where you can support us for as little as $1 a month. You guys can get episodes early. You guys can get exclusive content, all sorts of stuff. We'd also like to give a shout out to our patrons at the $5 tier. So thank you, Sam, for helping us out and keeping the mics on. We love you a lot and appreciate it. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Cool. That wraps us up for housekeeping for now. Let's get on to spoilers. Where did I move my spoiler button?
Yes.
I moved things around on.
We don't
there it
know.
is. Okay. Spoilers. Here we are. Okay. So Jacq, let's start with you.
Mm-hmm.
What is the thing that you are just itching to talk about with season 3? Because you reached out to us. You've been on the show before. If I'm not mistaken, I think you were the person that kind of inspired Melissa to be like, hey, we should also watch Mr. Robot in the first place. So season 3, I think in particular, you've mentioned is one of your favorites. Like you said, you've spent a lot of time in this one. What specifically about this one stands out to you?
Oh man, I think this season is most likely my favorite season of the series. I haven't watched season 4 in its entirety all the way through, like at my own pace. I watched it as it aired week by week, so it was a very different experience from the first 3. So my opinion might change after watching season 4 as I want to watch it rather than waiting week by week for each episode. But first impressions, this one is my favorite of the series just because I think that the character arcs are so interesting. Like I love a good redemption arc, and I love that at the beginning of this season, Elliot sets out on a quest for redemption. He's like, I fucked up everything. Yeah. How do I fix it? And that's like the thesis of this entire season. And I think just all of the characters have such interesting arcs throughout this season, like Angela kind of becoming an antagonist, which was unexpected, but I love that twist. And it was so interesting to watch her kind of descend into madness.
Yeah.
And I think just even like characters like Darlene, which she wasn't my favorite character throughout the first couple of seasons. Not that I disliked her, but in this season in particular was where I started to really actually like her. And I think that she was way more developed. You see more of a vulnerability with her than you've seen in the past. And I think what really hired my opinion of her overall is that you see how much she's doing everything that she's doing for the sake of her brother, not even for herself. Like she's putting him above everyone else and everything else in her life. And even though she's going behind his back and working with the FBI, it's so that he can be okay. Like everything she's doing is for him. And I think that it was just very touching to see that side of their relationship. I think you see more of their relationship in this season than you have in seasons past, because season 1, you don't find out they're related until the very end of the season. And in season 2, they spend so much time apart that this is the first time you really get a sense of what they're like as siblings. And I really liked that aspect of this too.
Sure.
Yeah.
Melissa, is there a particular relationship in this or character development that you liked?
I agree with Jacq that I love that this season is about Elliot redeeming himself. I like that this is a story. So when I originally heard about the show Mr. Robot. I think I've mentioned that I had it completely backwards, and I thought Christian Slater was like the main character who was like a guy who worked in an office.
I mean,
and Elliot was this like mysterious counterculture
you're not
figure
really
who
wrong.
like lurked around. Right. I was wrong, but I wasn't wrong at the same time. And I knew there was some sort of giant take down the man hack they were working on, and I figured that's what the show was like building towards this thing they wanted to do. And I like that the series executes that. The plan is executed exactly as they wanted in the season 1 finale, and the next 3 seasons are just fallout and like, did we do the wrong thing? Did we mess up society worse than it already was? Can we set it back? And I love the new sensation montage that Elliot has.
Yes.
One of the best montages in the series. Something the show's very good at. Where he's like, I'm going to try and set things right and like just try and live a normal life. Like, this is something I'm trying to protect in other people.
Club and it's like, okay, Elliot.
Wear clean clothes, go to office functions. Like, he's trying to protect the normal lives of people, but he's so outside of it. This is him, like, giving it a shot. Like, I'm going to fully show up as a human citizen. And I love that he's like, I could do this. I could set things right. It's so optimistic in a way the show has not been before, in a way that character has not been before. And you see him taking down little people within E-Corp, which is a nice thing to sort of have in the back of your mind when all of these other disasters happen. It's like, yeah, but Elliot got rid of at least like a dozen terrible executives along the way. At least we've got that going for us.
Yeah, he has some good moments. He has the like happy-go-lucky moments in each season where you see him like skipping, or he has a white mocha frappuccino or something, you know, and he's just the happiest person in the whole world, and it's so funny. You see him in that, it's just like, this is ridiculous. Like, but yeah, like I kind of remember us talking about Angela when we covered season 1 and just being like, I wonder what's gonna happen to her, and we didn't know what. And I don't think we got it right, but I think we may have mentioned that she, like, we expect to see her get wrapped up in this more and more, and we don't know how she'll react to that. And I think we really get that with this season. And I think that was the one that didn't necessarily catch me off guard, but was one of the ones that I was like, this is not a direction I expected it to go in. Because one of the like first big twists that I want to kind of pull out is she also starts talking to someone that isn't really there. She starts talking to QWERTY, the fish. And there's this one scene, it's really only in one scene, but you can kind of see it in her character when she's not there, that like things have started to mess with her, and she is a little bit off of her rocker. And yeah, there's this one scene where she is talking, and immediately you're just like, oh no, she's talking to someone that is not there. And then it's like, oh, she's talking to the fish. Well, not that bad, but it's still bad. Like, you know. But yeah, like to say that, and then she's walking around like outside New York at night, and she has her like shopping cart full of stuff. She looks like she's homeless. I forget. She meets. It looks like Cisco, but it's not Cisco, because Cisco's supposed to be dead, but it's the same, like the same guy. Like, buy my
this
CD.
Is the new Cisco.
And she thinks it's him, and she's like, I am not taking your CD this time. And he's just like, okay,
yeah,
whatever.
And it's not clear whether that is legitimately just a guy trying to sell a CD, or if this is the Dark Army, like, still quietly running that same scam. And now that Cisco is dead, they just have a different guy doing it.
Yeah,
that's right. Because he leaves, and immediately when he leaves, the Dark Army shows up right behind her in this mysterious van, and they're like, "You're gonna have to come with us," right? And it's just like, what is going on? Like, this is not where I expected Angela to end up. Like, not at all. Yeah, she goes through some wild stuff.
Yeah, she's become a zealot, which was not on the list of things I thought Angela might do.
I kind of expected her to be on the opposite side of the hack. Like, somehow, like, okay, maybe if she somehow ends up, like, being doctrinized into E-Corp and wants to help them instead.
Yeah.
Like, I could see something like that,
Yeah.
but yeah, not to this extreme. So I was just like, whoa, okay, hi. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I
Go ahead, Jacq.
I think it's interesting. Sorry. I think it's interesting that there's such a role reversal with Elliot and Angela in this season.
Yeah.
Because I would say in the first season, his actions may seem a bit more delusional, and Angela's seem more logical. Like, I'm going to handle this the logical way in terms of taking down E-Corp, and Elliot's way may seem delusional. And then they kind of switch by the end of this season where she is way delusional and he's like actually doing the logical steps that it takes to undo the hack.
Elliot and Angela are particularly loved in this season because we get that scene in like the first or second episode where he's gonna he just gotten out of jail. Like, I don't think he's back in his apartment yet, or maybe she's like, "You're in a bad place. Stay at my place tonight." You know, like, you're not in a good mental state to be on your own. Like, sleep on my couch. And he comes in from the rain, and he's got his black hoodie on, and he's just soaking wet, and she's wearing this beautiful white outfit, which she normally is. I love that that's the visual language of Angela, and it's a power outage. So it's the two of them standing in her living room surrounded by all of these candles, and it's the most romantically styled scene, even if the content of it is not overtly romantic. I think he does kind of move towards her, and she kind of moves away, and his narration says, this is what Angela has always been. When something gets too close to her, she gets scared and she pushes it away. I really like this relationship between the two of them where he is clearly so into her, and we just get a sentence about it once every season.
Yeah.
There's so little actual advancement. But I'm looking at this, like, he's like bad boy in this black outfit coming out of the rain, and she's wearing white and she's surrounded by all these candles, and I'm like, this feels like a YA romance. And I'm like, that's who these two are. Matt, like, the beginning of them is both of our parents worked for a company that poisoned them, gave them cancer. We met each other during, like, the legal process of all of the victims of this company, like, reaching out to each other and supporting each other and fighting.
Meeting your loved one in a courtroom.
No, but it's like, this would be like a John Green novel or something.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, these are how these two kids meet, and then they become best friends, and then they're like, we're going to take down the corporation together. Like, they have the model of a YA romance that never got off the ground, and now they're both grim adults, but the trappings of it are still kind of there. Like, he's still wearing black, and she's wearing white, and they're leaning against either side of a door talking to each other.
Yeah. That's good. So I kind of wanted to dive into the relationship between Elliot and Mr. Robot for a bit, because I think that is mainly what the, like, darker undertones of this season revolve around. We know that Mr. Robot is like the invisible friend, alter ego of Elliot, but in this one, by season 3, they've kind of separated so much that they are at ends with one another, where one of them will wake up and the other one won't know what the other one is doing. Whereas in season 1, we always saw them together. They were working together. They might have had some issues, now and then. And then season 2, we start to get a hint of like this separation starting of just like, hey, I was in this room. How is it that you're in that room talking to them? That doesn't make sense. And we get the like glitch effects where it will switch back and forth between them. And this one, we get like that full separation of just like, I now don't know when he's gonna come or what he will do, and this is bad. Yeah. So, what did you guys think of that? Thoughts on separation?
It's like we're both waiting for the other
Jacq.
one to speak. I thought it was really interesting seeing them hardly have any scenes together in this season, which as much as I like seeing those two work alongside each other, I think it really served the narrative well that we had them working separately. And something that I thought was really, I don't know why, I just found this very moving on the last episode of this season when they're on the Ferris wheel again. And Elliot's asking Mr. Robot, like, hey, did you know about any of this? And he's like, no, if I had known about this, I would have found another way. And then Elliot thinks, oh, yeah, because there's a part of me in you as much as there's a part of you in me. And I found that very touching. And
it is.
It's oddly like a good fatherly moment, right? Of...
Yeah.
Like he never really got to hang out with his dad into his adult life, so he never really got to have those more adult conversations with him. But he's in some ways still having those here, which is nice.
Yeah, this whole season, you think that there's been some sort of a dividing wall put up between Elliot and Mr. Robot. And you're not sure how or why, but those personalities are like completely separate. They don't interact with each other. And Mr. Robot keeps coming in and like taking control. Like there's that scene where Elliot's trying to like go down the hallway in an E-Corp building, and Mr. Robot keeps taking over his body and making him like fall to the ground and throw himself against the wall and punch himself in the face.
Neither one of them wants them to do what they're trying to do. So it's, one is trying to stop the other one, and then that one's trying to stop that one. Yeah, and he's just like hitting his head on the wall, like, knock yourself out unconscious so we can't do any of this.
Right, and it's like a little comedic because it's so ridiculous, but it's also really scary. So there's this division between the two of them this whole season, and I love that the breaking point is that Darlene says, Elliot, no, Dad didn't push you out the window. You jumped out the window.
Yeah.
And that really recolors every flashback we've seen of their dad, because you're looking at the dad like, this guy seems all right, but remember he pushed Elliot out of the window? Who is this guy? And then to learn, no, Elliot jumped. Like, that gives you a more positive vision of the dad. Still probably not the best guy, but didn't push his son out the window. That's progress. It gives Elliot a more positive view of him, and you learn that like he was actively pushing Mr. Robot away. Like, he was more conscious in this than he has let on. That like he kind of put up the dividing wall. Like, I'm not interacting with you anymore. And then when he finds out that like this personality he's built based on his dad is based on a man who is better than he thought, that opens the doors back up, and he's able to communicate with Mr. Robot again. And again, it's something that's so strange but weirdly optimistic that once Elliot finds out, one of the most traumatic things that ever happened to me is something I did to myself, which is very sad and scary, but you can see that it puts him in this mindset of, if I caused a problem, I can fix that problem, which is the same thing with 5'9". He's like, I did this. I have to undo this. And he's like, oh, I was an instrument in my own trauma. I can now this is weirdly empowering for me to try and break it down and feel better about myself and my family again, and feel like I can cooperate with this weird personality that's an image of my dad.
So you mentioned the like optimism that is in there of like I can fix this. I kind of saw that in a couple characters with this season, despite how sinister it might be, and I keep saying that word sinister because you do get these like really strange character arcs, and you get to like follow them on the street and like what are they really up to and stuff like that. But there's a couple of them that also do have this like really hopeful outlook in certain parts of the season. You mentioned that with Elliot. We got a flashback of Tyrell when he's like not first has his job, but like before the events of season 1, we get this flashback of him, and he tries to be like, well, hey, I can be the one to lead an internal team and do all this and make things right. And in that scene, it was a very strange scene because he's still starry-eyed and hopeful. The music is also hopeful, but as soon as he like speaks out, he is just like stomped on and just like, no, I didn't ask for your opinion. Like, I never will ask for your opinion, kind of thing. And then, while the hopeful music is still playing, it does this weird thing with the camera where it kind of swoops underneath him and does this lower perspective, which usually is a thing that people do in art to make the character look more powerful. They are bigger, they are menacing, they are towering over you. But in that same shot, we also see the evil corp building right behind him, towering over him. And so he's still small in comparison to this thing. And I was like, it's brilliant. But it's so strange because it's so hopeful. He wants to he's like, I can do this. I can fix it. We can be safe. Like, we can help people. I'm just like, oh, Tyrell. Little do you know.
Poor Tyrell.
Little do you know.
I think there was the only thing I wanted out of the season was like a little bit more Tyrell. Especially because he splits away from Elliot pretty early on in the season. And I love his weird fascination with Elliot. This is a relationship unlike anything I've seen on TV.
It's funny because they talk about it too. I think there's a scene. It's Tyrell and Mr. Robot, and he says something along the lines of like, "But I love you," right? And he's just like some things are best left at subtext, okay? Not text. And it's like, did they were reading all of our forums, weren't they? They've seen my Tumblr. Oh God.
Yeah, and Mr. Robot's like, I'm not doing this. And you wonder what Elliot's reaction would be if him himself heard Tyrell say I love you, would Elliot just be like, okay.
He still has that wide eyes, just like, okay.
Just a bewildered stare like normal.
Right. The most he can offer anyone.
Yeah, exactly.
I loved the flashback episode that showed Tyrell's experience sort of being held captive by the Dark Army. And Jacq, you texted me and said, this episode's particularly going to appeal to you. And then I looked at the episode description. And I'm like, oh, it's a Tyrell episode. Cool. And then I'm watching it in the opening credits. And I'm like, Wallace Shawn is in this. Cool. And then the episode goes on and they play Gordon Lightfoot's If You Could Read My Mind. I'm like, that's it. This one of my favorite
and
songs.
That is when Melissa bought the season JVD right then and right there.
Oh, what a perfect storm of things I enjoy. I love that Wallace Shawn scene. Wallace Shawn is in the
I don't know who this person is.
Scene.
Who is this guy?
No. Like, I don't think he has a name. He just shows up. He's connected to the Dark Army somehow. We don't know how. It seems like he's just a guy that comes in to help like indoctrinate new recruits that the Dark Army has taken on. And he puts on a kettle that just starts like boiling and steaming and screaming. And he's sitting there and he's got like a pen and paper and he's like giving Tyrell a test.
Parties. That's what I know him from the Goofy movie. Talk to me, Stacey!
One of his many excellent roles. If you need somebody to play an authority figure, who better than Wallace Shawn? And he's giving Tyrell this pop quiz, almost like the one the little girl gave Angela.
Yeah.
In that suburban house. And the way this scene is cut, it keeps cutting between Tyrell looking like, no, I'm not going along with this. I'm not doing this. Stop asking me these questions. I'm not going to give you the answers you want. The tea kettle screaming and Wallace Shawn writing stuff down in a notebook and doing coke.
Wild stuff. I love
that the show never
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say briefly, I love that the show never lets up on like weird set dressing sort of things like that, and it uses it sparingly enough that you don't get desensitized to it. Like just the extra fact of, and he's doing coke the entire time while he's giving Tyrell this like indoctrination test. And then episodes later, there's White Rose and her assistant, I think his name is Grant. They're like having that really emotional scene in her apartment. And in the background, there's a woman who's just playing like musical glasses, like tracing her fingers around like the glasses of water. Not focused on, not spoken of. What? This isn't a party. It's just the three of them in this room.
Yeah, there's some weird things. So one of the things that I wanted to mention is the influences that this show brings in, because season 1 like absolutely wore its heart on its sleeve. It's like we are Fight Club and V for Vendetta and Taxi Driver, like all mixed into one big thing. And then season 2 starts to introduce some like maybe a little bit of Twin Peaks in there too, with that like scene with Angela and White Rose. And this one, I think, really brought in vibes of Fargo. Have you guys seen the movie Fargo or the TV show?
I've seen the movie once a long time ago, but I get what you're talking about, especially with Irving and his whole corner of things.
And just the whole idea of they brought Tyrell to this cabin, kind of out in this small town, to be in this isolation. He's doing like weird everyday things. Like it's not like scary, like they're not torturing him per se, but he's just doing like he's chopping wood all day, but that is like this weird torture in and of itself. The whole character of Irving, he just has this this like, let's have normal conversations when we shouldn't be having normal mundane conversations. Right, the whole idea where he likes to eat these ribs, and he's sitting there like just munching on these ribs, and it's this like very visceral, messy experience. And then he's just like, oh, these are so good. You know what the secret is to these? You need to do this, that, X, Y, and Z, and blah blah. And it's just like, why are you talking about ribs right now? Like, no.
Oh man, another influence that I saw particularly in that episode was The Shining. Like even the opening credits, the little title crawl is very much like The Shining. I was about to mention
that one next. I was like, isn't this The Shining? Like when he's driving up the long driveway and all that stuff. This is great.
And I love in the last episode when they go back to that cabin, it's still the same aerial shot of the car driving along. Like it's not as stylistically precise as the Tyrell episode is, but it's reminiscent of, we're going to do kind of the same camera work that we did the last time we were in this setting.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing because I know The Shining also deals with like kind of like alter egos and stuff like that. It deals with abuse and abusive relationships and the like the scariness of all of that. And I think we can see that especially in Irving, right, who is this strange manipulator and is like he's a fixer, but he's almost kind of retired, but he's not. And it, like I don't know, he just has this like weird position, and he's just this very forceful, intimidating person. We also know that Tyrell was also kind of like that, and here he is kind of dealing with the consequences of him being abusive and manipulative, and where it's gotten him, right, to the point where he's like, hey, I want to see my wife and child, and they don't tell him that his wife is now dead and his child is in protective services God knows where.
Right.
And yeah, it's just like it's horrifying stuff to think that they are manipulating him in that way, and they're just like, hey, if you get this next thing done, then you can see your wife and kid. And we're sitting there, but they're dead. Can't you? No, it won't work. He's gonna be mad. This is not good. Not a good situation.
No, it's so tense. Talking about Irving, what a great addition to the cast. What a performance. What great a look.
Stuff. Great stuff.
Bobby Cannavale is just a powerhouse.
Right? He's amazing in this. And I love that when you first meet Irving, like, he's very smooth talking, like, he's charismatic, he's kind of genial. You can see how, like, oh, this guy's likable. He is a used car salesman, like, as his, like, day job when he's not doing Dark Army stuff. And it seems like it might also be kind of a Dark Army front.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he's got that vibe to him of used car salesman, but in, like, the best way possible. Like, he's a smooth guy. And he seems like just like a talker, just like a guy who's here to talk to you, get you resources, move things around, kind of fix things, arrange stuff.
Like the perfect ideal salesman.
Yeah, yeah. He seems like he's a guy who, like, is there to clean up messes, but not necessarily, like, get his own hands dirty. Like, he just sort of project manages everything. And then you get to the last episode where you think he's going to kill Dom, and instead he kills Santiago, and he destroys that man. It's so gruesome, and it's so striking, because you're like, I didn't know this guy could do this. When did he learn how to do this?
Been chopping wood his whole life, Melissa. He's been preparing.
Chekhov's axe.
Right?
Just Chekhov's axe. And just what an interesting little peek into how the Dark Army works. Because I mentioned earlier that scene with White Rose and Grant. It becomes really emotional, and they're kissing at the end of it. And then Grant shows up to kind of turn the turn the plans upside down. Like White Rose said, I can try doing things my way. And then Irving's like, I was in your shoes once too. It's just like sort of implying that White Rose has had a string of these assistant boyfriends she goes through. And then at the end, like, she says, I love you to Grant. And it's like, is this a ploy? Is this true? Who else has gone through this? Was this Leon once? Was this Santiago once? What is the backstory? How does the HR world of the Dark Army work?
I don't know if they particularly have an HR division, but who knows?
The Dark Army's got such a disparate cast of characters in it. I'm so curious, like, how did any of you join this? Where did White Rose find any of you? How are you all together? How do you work together?
Yeah. What did you
Anytime we
put
get a
on your
glimpse
resume
of, like, the
to
data,
like apply?
Right. Anytime we get a glimpse of like the day-to-day, like kind of social operations of the Dark Army, it's really interesting. And the fact that Irving kills Santiago partially because he's like, I'm just done with this guy. And like the last time they talked before that was Santiago calling Irving like, I think I've been burned. And Irving's just like, uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Like he's done with him. He's been done with him for months. And he's like, oh, here's my chance. We're going to get somebody new in. I like her.
I guess we're in spoiler territory, so we're assuming people have seen this and stuff. But I guess to just give context, so we have the FBI who is trying to figure everything out. It looks like they know most of it, but they still haven't nailed things down exactly. They don't know much about White Rose yet. Darla is working with the FBI to kind of Darlene, whatever her name is. I'm terrible with names. You guys know this. She's working with the FBI to kind of inform them and all of that stuff. But every time the FBI like is able to take a step, or again, what's her name? The woman, the agent. I don't remember her name. Yes, Dom. She like when she is about to uncover something or make an arrest, it's always thwarted by her boss. And at first, we don't really think much of it because it's like, oh, that's something that a boss would do. It's like, okay, slow down now. There's paperwork involved. We need to do all that stuff. But then we learn that he's also working for the Dark Army, not because he wants to, but it seems like they have something on him. And so like by the end of this season, they're all kind of gathering at this cabin out in the middle of nowhere where they kept Tyrell. And it like they are trying to arrest different people. They're trying to talk to, but they're all just gathering at this one spot. And in that spot, there's a lot of stuff that goes down. And there's a scene where Irving takes out the two FBI agents and just starts chopping one of them into pieces. And like you think he's about to kill Dom or kill both of them, but he just goes after this one, and it is like one of the most like Fargo scenes of just like, I'm gonna stick you in this wood chipper and everything will be chipper after that, like you know. And it's just like, this is scary and terrifying, but I like it. It's like oddly charismatic still, and it's like this is weird. I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird to see the Dark Army's effect on certain people. Like Irving doesn't appear to be phased. Leon doesn't appear to be phased. And then whatever it was that Angela experienced completely warped her. Like, I wouldn't say she was necessarily the most healthy person to begin with, but you look at her in like, the late season 2, and then you look at her here and it's like, what happened that broke you this
right? It's
badly?
like she's had some kind of religious experience of just like, you've seen God, apparently. Okay. Here you go.
Yeah. I want to talk about this show's shift towards something sci-fi, which is whatever White Rose's plan is. I think it's like the end of the season 3 premiere cold open, maybe. You see her and she's talking to Grant in this, they're in some sort of an office somewhere. Like, it's not really clear. It's like real close up on the both of them talking about the next phase of the plan. And yes, we have to move all of our resources, from Jersey to the Congo. They want the Congo. In this storyline, China just gets the Congo. It's theirs now. And this is all part of some plan where she's going to build like some factory there for something mysterious. And the camera slowly zooms out from the both of them. And you don't know where exactly they are. I think it's implied it might be like Washington Township. But it zooms out and they're next to like a Hadron Collider. A massive, massive piece of machinery. It's like, what do you want this for?
Like, it's like, this is the kind of thing you see in like time travel fiction or like alternate universes and like alternate realities and stuff. And it's just like, like, I get that like computer hacking can kind of go hand in hand with these like secret government projects and experiments on all of this stuff. Like, whoa, one of my favorite animes and time travel fiction is Steins Gate, and it's basically this exact same thing where they accidentally hack into CERN and they learn some things that like, oh shit, like time travel is a real thing. It's like they haven't perfected it yet, but it's a real thing. And then they somehow end up making a time machine with a cell phone and a microwave. It's fantastic. But yeah, it's just like, and no one mentions it. They don't mention that they're standing in the midst of a giant hadron collider, or it's not mentioned by anyone else down in the show. It's just like, it's there, it exists. I'm just like, this is appealing to another like I like this stuff, but why here? And then no one says anything. What is going on?
Right, like you, Jacq, you got something?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think Angela kind of hints at it throughout the season, because we get that great sequence at the end of the first episode, which has one of my favorite needle drops with Touch by Daft Punk playing in the background. And she's talking about, it wasn't until I met White Rose when my eyes were opened and this new world is going to be reborn. And then she talks about it again on the day of stage 2 when she's telling Elliot, we need to let today happen.
Yeah.
No one's gonna die today. Everyone's gonna be fine. And she like keeps rewinding that footage. Like, see, they all came back. And you're just like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
Right.
Like I'm wondering if they're going to do something with that, but on the other hand, I'm just like, that seems a little bit too much for this show. Like, as
I don't know. So we don't know White Rose's plan. Everything we get is like distilled through Angela, I think. And what Angela says leads us to believe that White Rose and this Large Hadron Collider have some sort of a reset feature. Like what Elliot's trying to do is just restore the data they deleted. Whatever this thing Angela believes in is like, we are going to go back in time or go into an alternate universe. And she's like, my mom's going to be alive again. Elliot, your dad's going to be alive again. Like, we're going to reset everything. We're going to fix everything. All these people that have died aren't going to die, which I think casts the deaths of this show in another light, like losing Shayla and Gideon and Cisco. And even the episode where we get to Trenton and Mobley's deaths, like, you're thinking about it differently.
Maybe that really
like
was an alternate reality Cisco.
Right, or like, oh, they're not going to die. Well, they're dead here, but we're going to hit a reset button in like 3 episodes, and then they're going to be back. So I'd love those two, but I kind of had my emotions in check. Like, oh, we're going to reverse this, aren't we? I was expecting this whole thing to be like the end of season 5 of Lost, where Juliet hits the button and the screen goes white, and then the next season we're in a different place entirely. This is what I was expecting to happen. That we were going to have some sort of a, not just restoration of data, but like hard reset of reality.
Yeah.
That seems like where it was going. And I was surprised that we didn't get more advancement on that. It just seemed like that might be the season's arc. But this is a show that has never played with like traditional narrative structure and pacing. And with Elliot saying, I can get your plant in the Congo in a month, maybe this will be like an early season 4 thing by the time the timeline works out. And then we're going to see, okay, what's this Hadron Collider about?
Let me raise this question then, right? So we now have this idea in the back of our minds that like, hey, maybe there's a way for us to reset this thing. Melissa, you also mentioned that conversation between Elliot and Mr. Robot of hey, if you had known this was going to happen, like, would you have done something differently? And he's like, yeah, I would have found another way. So based off that, one theory for season 4 could be that, like, yeah, they do go back in time or something and get to do the hack a different way and somehow take down Evil Corp before their parents are dead or something, right? Like, that could be one theory. That seems a little bit too sci-fi for me in this show, and that's coming from me, the one who loves sci-fi and time travel and stuff like that. I just don't know if that fits within this show. Like, one thing that I really, really enjoyed with season 3 was, I think, an idea that was planted in season 2 of, like, sometimes so back up a bit. Season 1 takes this very, like, anti-capitalist, anti-corporate stance, right? Just like, fuck them all, down with them, we don't need them. And then we get the fallout in season 2 where the economy is shit, and it's like like taking them like, there's actually a lot of people that rely on this corporation to do all of this stuff. Not that the show, like, completely does this 180 and is like, yay, corporations, but it's just like, maybe there's a better way to do this, or a different way to do this, or just like, maybe it's not necessarily about taking them down, but more so keeping them in check. Of like, how do we hack them in responsible ways that will hold them accountable to the terrible shit that they do. So yeah, like, I'm wondering if that will factor more into season 4 of just like, hey, maybe we'll get a reset button, or maybe we will find out some way to not necessarily undo things, but like, they've kind of been gearing towards of just like, how do we kind of fix things a little bit, but we still don't like Evil Corp because they are still Evil Corp. So who knows? Those are just my, like, incomplete thoughts of just like, I don't know what's happening here, but there's this and there's that, and so
yeah. I think it's really interesting how Elliot even says in this season that maybe Evil Corp is a necessary evil.
Right, yeah.
And they just need to be kept in check. And if you notice, from that point onward, he only refers to it as E-Corp.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's not Evil Corp anymore.
Yeah.
Which I found an interesting, like, very small thing in the grand scheme of this show. And I guess I will say avoid Reddit until after you finish the show, but if you want to look up some wild theories,
I'd like to.
There are some wild theories post season 3 for how this show was gonna end, and it was just a minefield once I was caught up with the show, trying to read through all of these. And
especially with this season, I wanted to so badly. I was like, I don't necessarily know if I understood what happened in, like, the second half of this season. Like, can I read an analysis of this stuff? I'm like, no, there's going to be spoilers everywhere. There's going to be wild theory. I'm just like, I cannot, I hate this, but I want to so bad.
Yeah.
So.
We have to look up a Mr. Robot Explained after this. I'm also very excited to finish the series because then that means I can look up Mr. Robot as Vines on YouTube to see if anybody has done this, and I won't be spoiled for anything. That's my favorite part of starting any new story. Are there any Vine compilations?
Exactly. So the next thing that I wanted to bring up, we mentioned it at the start, but the, like, mid-season stuff of this show, let's talk about that, because that stuff was wild. That stuff blew my mind.
Oh my gosh.
I think it's season 5 that they do that like God view thing of Angela like going through the building where all of the like people are ransacking the building and stuff. That was gorgeous. I loved it. It was amazing.
Yeah, I think it is episode 5 that's all a one shot. And it's just Elliot and Angela work. Like, the episode starts with Angela's having Elliot fired because she's gotten in on like the plan where he's diverting the paper records to all these different stations. And then she fires him, and it's him like running from security within the E-Corp skyscraper. And then there's a protest outside, and a bunch of protesters break in and are like ransacking the building. And then it becomes Angela trying to like get to this one computer to like complete this mission.
Yeah. And it's interesting because and I've seen this post on like Twitter or something a number of times, but it talks about that like God view camera angle, and that's something you almost never see in like Western film stuff. You might see it in more like Japanese or Korean stuff for like big fight scenes and stuff, but that's almost never something that you see in Western film, and I loved it because it was like it's that whole scene is really tense. Of like, we don't necessarily know if these people ransacking the building are just random people or if they're Dark Army. It's kind of alluded to that there's a mix of them in there. And so we know that some of them are probably aware of like, okay, this is Angela. Do not touch her, like, or at least like get other people away from her so she can do her own thing. But there's still some in there that's like, this looks bad. It looks like they're about to like hurt her or something. Yeah. No, and we get this like really tense, like Mission Impossible. It's not like spot buys and stuff, but she has to get to this like computer and do this thing, and it's time sensitive, and she's kind of taking on this mission on her own when she's not really supposed to, and it's like I loved it. It was just incredibly tense and chaotic, and I was just like, this is brilliant. I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one thing that the season does really well is the art of the episode itself.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Like, there are so many good individual episodes that are different from anything else we've seen. And they really just stand alone so well on their own. And that's definitely one of them. And one story, which I'm so glad that you brought up this episode, because I couldn't believe this happened. I guess it was the following week after I'd watched this episode for the first time. I went into work one day and I was locked out of my computer.
Oh no.
I'm like, oh no, it's happening. I'm getting fired.
Oh no.
But no, I was logged into a different computer for that week at a different building, so it didn't read me as a person who should have access, and IT fixed it for me, but I was convinced that I was a goner.
Oh, no.
No.
That's funny. Yeah.
Yeah, I love how specific the episodes are for this series. Like with some drama TV shows, it's so serialized that the episodes kind of blend into each other. Like it just seems like it's one long story cut into like 42-minute chunks. Mr. Robot's very specific. Like Legacy is like, you know what episode Legacy is. You know what episode Kill. Well, you might not remember all these episode titles, but I looked them up, so I have those connected in my brain. But it's like Legacy specific, that's the Tyrell one. Kill Process specific, that's the one-shot one. Don't Delete Me, very specific, that's the film one. Jacq, do you want to talk about Don't Delete Me?
I would love to. I don't know if you want me to talk about it now or later on, or
Kyle, what do you think?
Whatever you want, go for it.
Yes.
Okay. So this is my favorite episode of the series. There are a few episodes in season 4 that come pretty close to it.
Ooh.
But I would say that this episode, I felt like I was a different person after I finished watching it.
Okay.
Like I don't think I've ever been that deeply moved by a single episode of television before. And I love that it's such an individual story. And after we've had all of this chaos and all of these action-packed episodes, that we get such a quiet, introspective story of just following Elliot on this very bad day where he is just considering throwing in the towel and giving it all up, and how just a few random acts of kindness and a few interactions that he has with people just lift him up again and make him re-question everything and think, I'm gonna be okay.
Yeah. It's that like hopeful
things aren't over for me yet.
Tinge in that show. Just like, this is oddly hopeful.
Yeah, like I was so inspired by the end of it. Like, yeah, as bad as things can get, people are resilient. We're always going to pick up the pieces. We're always going to move forward in any way that we can. And it especially spoke to me too, just with the aspect of going to the movies.
Yes.
Like, I loved that part of it as well. And I think it's so fitting that Back to the Future was
another
like
time
this movie that
travel
was playing.
hint.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, and it was very thematically fitting, and I also thought it really showed too how this show still taking place in 2015 can work to its advantage, that it is literally the day in Back to the Future Part 2 that Marty travels into the future, and how resonant that was with Elliot. And it made me think about my own life, and even if I'm going through a really hard time, sometimes just the release of a new movie that I have been waiting for kind of like grounds me in a way and brings me back to a place of contentment for at least a couple of hours. And God, it's just such a beautiful episode. I think it's shot beautifully. I love that it's filmed in the widescreen aspect ratio. Yeah, just good stuff.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I just had to say about that.
It's amazing. Like, the episode starts with like 10-year-old Elliot going to the movies with his dad, and his dad's sick, and I think it seems like his dad is like, Elliot thinks his dad, this is after Elliot's thought, like, dad pushed me out a window. And his dad's trying to like warm up to him, like, come on, buddy, you love the movies. And you go from viewing like, okay, dad, taking your kid to the movies isn't a replacement for pushing him out the window. And later you're like, oh, that dad was really trying to make Elliot feel better because he knew he was sad enough to jump out of a window.
Yeah.
But the dad he's sick, and he collapses on the ground of the theater. He collapses on this beautiful movie theater carpet. And Elliot just like leaves. Like, he just leaves his dad, and he goes and he sits down in a movie. And then we watch like a movie, like pre-screen, like, go to the lobby, you can have a soda. And now our feature presentation. And then it starts the episode. It is filmed widescreen. Like, this was a cinematic show to begin with, but it looks and feels completely different. Feels like literal cinema.
Because it's supposed to, like, that's supposed to be the movie that you're watching. Like, you got the preview like in the lobby. You get the like, okay, go enjoy a cold Coca-Cola, right? And then it's like, and here's your feature presentation, Mr. Robot. And then it's it's just like this hour-long movie of just like, here you go.
Yeah, and in the previous episode, Trenton and Mobley had been killed, R.I.P. And the episode is about Elliot.
Are you guys still there?
Who you can tell is like contemplating suicide after everything that's happened to him, but he wants to pay these respects to them and their families. And like, he goes to Mobley's brother, special appearance by Dileep Rao, nice to see, who's like, no, I hate him. I'm not doing a single thing from him. He goes to see Trenton's family, and they're like really scared, like they're moving away, and they're like, thank you for saying that she was a nice person. We don't know who you are. Like, please let us move in peace. You're not going to do anything to us, are you? And then it's her kid brother. Like, Elliot goes back to the house. No, like, Elliot, like, visits them, and then Elliot goes to the beach, and the kid brother follows him. And Elliot's like, how did you get here? And it's not clear. This is... Don't Oh, Jacq disappeared.
Jacqueline just disappeared, yeah. Hopefully we can get her back on the call. In the meantime, Melissa, do you want to continue with your thought there?
Sure. So this whole episode is so dreamlike because it looks different, because it feels different, because it is such a personal, like, we're just following Elliot for the day story. Oh, you're back.
Okay. I was so terrified. I'm like, what's going on?
It's
gosh, what did I miss?
We've been reunited. I was just talking about how Don't Delete Me feels so dreamlike, and how when Trenton's brother Mohammed like finds Elliot, you're not entirely sure if this is all really happening or if Elliot is imagining it. Because the fact that he just wanders up and he's like, oh, I got here. We can go. And like they go back to the house and it's like, yeah, my parents are gone. They left me here for the day. It's like, is this real? Is Elliot's brain making things up? And I like that it doesn't change the story that much either way, whether everything that happened to him that day was real or not. If he had a real kid who was nice to him and offers him a lollipop because he's sick. Or if this is something Elliot's mind is giving him because it knows he needs the boost, like the resilience of Elliot's own mind to keep supporting itself despite everything it does to itself. Like both outcomes are kind of sweet. Yeah.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed. Let's see. Was there anything else? I don't know if I have anything else in particular that I want to talk about, except for like Jacq, you had mentioned this one does a great job of making each episode feel like its own thing, which is on one hand it's fascinating, but on the other hand I might say that might also be a downside for some people, because I think season 1 and season 2 are both so visually like tied together, with like the whole season looks like this thing or plays like this thing, whereas this one doesn't necessarily fit that same mold, which might throw some people off, because you have that one where everyone has this like giant emoji face, and then there's one it's like you're at the movies, and then there's one with this like God view camera angle Mission Impossible one shot thing, like from God, what's the Korean film that does that one shot in the hallway, the fight scene, that then inspired Daredevil to make their hallway fight scene about the guy.
Is it Old Boy?
Yeah, there you go. That's the
I think
one.
it's Japanese.
That's a Korean film. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm thinking of something else. All right.
Yeah, so like there's those influences. There's the Shining episode, right? Like there's so much in there that it's almost like visual overload, but in a really subtle way, if that makes sense. Like it's fascinating to watch it beat by beat. But yeah, I don't think it was as tied together as previous seasons, if that makes sense.
I don't mind it. I'd like to see how bold the show can get, and I like that everything does serve a purpose. Like everything's there for some emotional, character-driven, plot-driven reason.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not flashy for the sake of being flashy, and I feel like it picks and chooses its moments very deliberately. I also want to mention, in the Frederick and Tanya episode where Leon is driving Trenton and Mobley around, and he's still talking about his TV shows. He starts talking about how much he loves Knight Rider. He's like, Knight Rider, that's a great theme song. And then they just play the Knight Rider theme song inside another TV show. Like, that's, what a move. I'm just going to needle drop another theme song inside my own show.
Yeah. I think Leon is a fantastic character. They do another thing where they play one of that actors' songs in the bar. I think I think Angela's in that scene, or Darlene, I don't remember, but yeah, they're at some bar or something, and it might be the scene that Darlene and Dom meet at the bar, and in the background there is a Joey Badass song playing.
Nice.
And then Leon is in the rest of the show. He's like one of my favorite characters that I feel like we know nothing about, except that he loves sitcoms, and he's just like, so in Frasier, right? Like this happens, and that, like, but I don't understand that. How do you expect me to believe that this guy can do that? It's just like, what? This is amazing. Like, I just want to like listen to him talk about these shows. I don't know why. It's great.
I want a commentary track that is Leon commentating in character on the show Mr. Robot.
Please.
Like, talking about any of his other shows he
Joey
watches.
Badass, make this happen.
There is like a preview, not even a preview trailer for season 4, but Leon does a recap of the series up to that point, talking about his boy Elliot, and it's amazing. Like, there are no spoilers for season 4, just it's him recapping the show up to that point.
Oh, good.
It's on YouTube, I think, if you just probably look up Mr. Robot Leon season 4 trailer or something like that, or season recap. I don't know what you'd look up to find it, but it's good supplementary stuff.
Nice.
Good.
Perfect choice.
Yeah, because he comes through in a major way at the end there, where things are getting really, really tense, and you think that White Rose is about to tell his men to kill them all and stuff like that, and then all of a sudden in the background you see Leon get this text or something. He checks his phone, puts it away, stands up, bang, 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 and like kills all of the Dark Army people who are in the room there, and it's just like, what is going on? What is happening, Leon? Whose side are you on? What is happening? So yeah, I'm excited.
I like that
season 4.
I like that Leon has like no real malice towards anyone. Yeah. Like he wishes the best to everyone he has to deal with. Like when he's watching over Trenton and Mobley, and then he gives them to these other goon members, and he's like, I hope they're going to treat you well. Nice to meet you guys. I'll see you later.
Yeah. Like he's so he's very much like, just like, hey, don't ask, don't tell. Like, I will do what you need me to do, but just let me live a happy life. You know, it's like I'm not gonna ask.
You know, let me watch my TV, drive my car, wear whatever I want to wear. Great outfits on Leon.
Oh man, that's what I love too, when Trenton and Mobley try to make a run for it. When Trenton like puts the keys in the car and they drive off, and she immediately hits a rock, and he just says, "Damn, that's no way to treat a caddy." Like, he's not even that upset that they tried to take off, just that they messed up the car in the process.
So chill
I
about
also
everything.
Love, like, and Trenton and Mobley are like zip tied, no, they've got like bike locks on their hands in the back seat, and Mobley's freaking out, and Trenton's like actually working on escaping, and she does, and then she's gonna like undo his locks, and he's like, no, we need to get out of here as fast as possible. Like, hop in the front seat, drive the car, and she's like, I don't know how to drive. I grew up in the middle of a desert. I never needed to know how to drive.
And they hit the one rock that is in the middle of this desert. How do you do this? Drive straight. Don't turn the thing. They're sitting there like, what in the world is happening?
I love this show's that it doesn't take itself too seriously, that it recognizes what we are doing is ridiculous.
Absolutely, yeah.
There's a scene where Elliot's trying to walk down a hallway and he just keeps punching himself. We know.
Yeah. This show is fantastic. I love this show.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys have final things that you want to say about season 3? Stuff that we missed.
I have a question for the both
Sure.
of you.
Okay.
Do you have any hopes, dreams, fears for season 4?
Melissa.
There is something you told me, and you've given me like very interesting little tidbits of information about this show.
Mm-hmm.
And when you had just started watching it and I didn't know anything about it, you mentioned, oh yeah, the show premiered in 2015 and the pace of the story is so slow. It was like season 3. You're like, yeah, we're still in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
And then when season 4 was airing, I remember asking you, like, how's the story going now? Are they still in 2015? And you said, I don't know when we are. So I'm very excited for whatever that means.
Yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I don't know, because like I'm at a lot with the introduction of this like potential time travel alternate reality stuff.
Yeah.
I'm lost too. I'm just like I don't know when we will be next season. So yeah, like I guess the one thing that I still don't fully understand with this show is what is White Rose's plan. That is the thing that I still can't wrap my head around. We've gotten hints, we've gotten bits and pieces. Oh, it looks like he wants to control Trump. Looks like she wants to do this. It looked like X, Y, and Z. There's a giant Hadron Collider. What, like, they want the Congo. There's this big, like, political thing to annex the Congo. Like, I don't understand exactly what's happening there. So I would love for season 4 to clear that up and make that abundantly clear of, like, this is what the big picture is. Because that's also something that they've kind of mentioned throughout the show of just like, look, you're not looking up, you're not seeing the big picture here,
right?
And
yes.
So I feel like it's like, well, I don't know what the big picture is. Somebody tell me too. I feel left out,
right?
You know?
No, I agree with you. I want White Rose to talk for 15 solid uninterrupted minutes.
Give White Rose 2 or 3 big monologues within this show, because
I want her to make me a PowerPoint.
Oh god, Elliot making those PowerPoints in season 3 here.
Oh,
he is so awkward. It is great.
I know.
But I want White Rose or BD. I don't remember the alter ego of
Li
Zhang. Yeah, I'm looking here on
Zhang. Li Shang's the guy from Mulan, I think.
Zhang. Z-H.
Also voiced by BD Wong.
Oh my god!
My god. God damn it! You can't just drop a bombshell like that and then like not expect us to theorize. Wow. Okay.
We tore off the mask and it's just BD Wong underneath. It's BD Wong all the way down.
What if they go to an alternate reality to get BD Wong, the actor, to help save them?
Oh my gosh.
The most powerful person in the entire universe.
BD Wong himself. He's a fantastic actor, and the character work that he is doing in this is great, and I want more of it. I want to know, what was it like, how did he explain it to Angela that she saw the light, so to speak, right? Like, what was that like? I will want to know those speeches or those monologues. I feel like I need 3 or 4 of them to fully understand all the bits and pieces and stuff like that. So I'm hoping for more White Rose.
Yeah, I especially want her background with Philip Price, because like there's a moment when you think Philip Price only knows the Zhang, the minister of whatever
State
the title is. Minister of State Security. You think that's the only person Philip Price knows, and then somebody's talking about Rose and calls her she. Philip's like, yes, I've known about her plans for years. Like, oh, you know about this other identity that she has. How did you come to know this?
It's not clear that he knows that they're the same person, though.
Oh, I guess that's true.
Like, he might know of the Dark Army and White Rose, and he might know that it's a woman, but he might not know that it's the same person.
Yeah, that's ambiguous.
Oh.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about like Philip being ageless dad.
Yeah, that's a big that would, like, I feel like would have been a bigger twist in any other show.
Right.
But it's so like that's the most like mundane thing in this entire show.
Right.
I don't know what's happening anymore. So I cannot wait for season 4. To finalize this.
Yeah.
The post credits.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I will say that season 4 goes in many different directions. So you will feel many different ways throughout the season.
Okay.
So just be prepared for that. And just be prepared for some very shocking, heavy things to happen.
Noted.
Okay.
Like, episode 7, I'm still haunted by to this day. Just be prepared for that. I don't know what else to say.
Okay.
I'm walking so you both can run. I watched it as it aired. I didn't know.
You.
Okay. Good to know.
One, just like one small thing that I wanted to let you both know, though, is that season 4, the first episode, begins with a scene from season 3 that like seamlessly transitions into the opening scene. So if you're skipping through the previously on, you might not realize that it's a new scene. It's just like a continuation of a previously on clip.
Good to know.
And it ends with a fake end credits. Like, you think the episode ends because the end credits start to roll, but then if you just wait a minute, it'll keep doing its thing. I'm only saying this because people on Reddit were furious when this episode ended because they didn't stick around for 5 seconds after the episode, quote unquote, ended to realize that the scene continues. So just
good to know.
Be cautious of that.
Good to know.
Valuable. I want to mention briefly the post-credits scene for season 3, which, going back to this theme of like optimism, the season ends with Dom completely chewing out Darlene, like, you're a terrible person. Yep. Don't ever convince yourself otherwise. All you deserve for the rest of your life is utter agony. And then Darlene is less obviously destroyed by that than you would expect. Maybe this is just par for the course for Darlene now. But the post-credit scene is like she's walking home. She's walking back to where she's staying at Elliot's apartment, and it's her and a prostitute just walking and talking to each other, just like complaining about like, when's this stuff gonna get fixed, you know? And the prostitute's like, well, I had these student loans to pay off. Don't know how I feel about not having to pay those off anymore. You know, is this trade worth it? Like, it's just them talking as they walk up to Elliot's apartment, and Darlene turns to her and says, I'm glad I met you. Like, even after all these terrible things, Darlene can still make and appreciate a friend. It's very heartwarming. And then Fernando Vera and his team roll up to Elliot's apartment. And it feels like this show has evolved so far past just the regular everyday crime of Vera that I'm interested to see how he's going to fit into season 4.
Kind of the last thing we saw of him, he ran off into the night, but we know he met some people in jail. Yeah. We don't know who those people are, but he seemed to be very happy about who these people were and the things he could do to get back at Elliot with. So I am assuming somehow he's gotten mixed up in the Dark Army, but I don't know yet. So
that'd be a plus.
Yeah. We'll see what's happening there. Okay. Next month is when we will do season 4, the final season of Mr. Robot. Yeah, I'm not sure what we'll do after Mr. Robot yet, but we will be deciding that. We'll let you guys know next month what we will be covering month to month after that. I don't know how you feel, Melissa. I would kind of like to switch the medium up and maybe do a longer comic book or something like that.
Okay.
That would be neat.
Yeah.
But yeah, for next week, however, we already have the stuff picked out that we are going to be covering. Melissa, do you want to let them know what that will be?
Yeah, I just pitched you 3 random TV shows that were on the front page of Netflix when I opened it up. And so I pitched you Lucifer, and you had already started watching Lucifer the week before. So you already had a head start. So we're just watching season 1 of Lucifer.
Exactly. Yeah, you pitched some things that you were like, Kyle will love these things. And then you're like, I guess I can throw in Lucifer with that. And I was like, that one. That one. Yeah, I happened to start it like a week ago. I watched the first like 2 episodes. I'm not far in. I've not continued watching it since then. But yeah, this is one that has been kind of on my list of things to watch eventually because I knew it was based off of a comic. And so yeah, I'm excited to dive into that because I've heard good things about the show, and from the first 2 that I've seen, starts off pretty decently, and I can see how it can get to a better spot. So,
yeah, I can see why this has gained its kind of cult favorite status.
Exactly. Yeah. So, season 1 of Lucifer is on Netflix. You guys can go watch it there. That's what we will be doing for this next week. Jacq, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you for letting me come on and talk about Mr. Robot. It's my favorite.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, this is a fantastic show. I have not bought it yet, but Melissa has. I think this is one that I might have to buy eventually as well, because this is like the perfect Kyle show. So, good stuff.
I just realized this is going to go on my DVD shelf next to the DreamWorks feature Mr. Peabody and Sherman, another father-son time travel story.
Good. Good stuff. Yeah, well, thank you so much for joining us. Do you have any kind of things that you want to shout out or stuff like that? I think I remember last time you did not shout out your social media, but you had something else that you wanted to shout out instead.
Yeah. My Twitter usage is pretty sporadic. It's kind of like a hit and run, but if you want to follow that hit and run, it's JMayPay. That's JAYMAYPAY.
There you go. If you like hit and runs,
nice.
Follow Jacq. Melissa, what about you? Where can I find you?
My Twitter usage has also become a bit sporadic. I just use it to like tell a joke, big finger quotes around joke every once in a while. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at WilkyWit. That's WILKYWIT.
You guys can find me at Yo Kyle Springer on Twitter and Instagram. My Instagram is the one that's real spotty, but I'm on Twitter all the time. But if you guys want to follow us and keep up with our podcast, we are at the Whatnauts on Twitter. Go like, share, subscribe, tell a friend, tell a foe, sell your soul, do whatever you need to do, become a corporate shill, whatever you need to do. Help spread the word. That would be fantastic. I think right now we're sitting at 76 subscribers at YouTube. So if you guys could follow us on YouTube, that would be amazing, and help spread the word there. We are hoping to reach 100. That is what we are pushing for. 100 subscribers on YouTube. That would mean a lot. So go do that, and that would be great. We will see you guys next week for season 1 of Lucifer. And with that, let's get out of here. This has been episode 112 of the Whatnauts Review Show. We will see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye, friend.
Thank you so much for checking out our podcast. We hope you enjoyed that one. Let us know what your favorite part of Mr. Robot Season 3 was down below in the comments. That would be fantastic, but no spoilers, please, because we haven't seen Season 4 yet. So yeah, no spoilers on that one. In the meantime, though, go follow our channel right up here in this corner, and go watch one of our other videos right down there in that corner. That would help us out a ton, and we hope you enjoy whatever video that is as well. And with that, we will see you guys next week. Bye.